Hey everybody, I'm Frank Iero. I just did an interview with the Zach Sang Show, and we talked about all the things I wanted to talk about and some stuff I didn't want to talk about. I got sanged.
Let's do this. Zach Sang Show.
Hello, beautiful human.
Hello.
We're here with Real Talk. You're a legend, man.
Oh, thank you.
Frank Iero.
All right. Thank you so much.
By the way, I've heard your last name be pronounced a couple different ways.
You got it right, by the way. Yes,
my gosh,
I know.
yes.
Okay, don't take credit for that. I told you exactly how to say it.
Dude, I also listened to like 3 or 4 different interviews, and I tried to get like a baseline of where people were at with it.
Right.
And then do like a grab from everybody and do what I thought was right.
Amalgamation of incorrectly to be correct. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
That was it.
My dad always was like, "Oh, you got to do a shirt that has like an I, an ear, and an O on it." I was like, "Oh, right." Like, so the people get it right. He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's terrible."
I'm a phonetic guy. So if you can give me something like that.
That's how you pronounce it, though. I, ear, O.
Frank Iero.
There you go.
We have a lot to get into here because...
You know, real quick, we usually have pop stars in here, so it's very exciting to have you in here. Like, this is awesome. We are so excited.
My pleasure.
Really, you've shaped major parts of my life, right, in terms of how I listen to music and the type of music that I find interesting, and also the type of music that ended up breaking mainstream pop when I was actively a fan of it. But this guy, I feel like you shaped his entire existence and a lot of that.
Yeah, I'm so excited
Wow.
to have you sitting in front of us.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Is it,
I don't know how to take a compliment, so you got to...
I can tell.
Please stop.
I mean,
But I appreciate it, yeah.
we got a lot to dive into because you have Barriers is a great body of work. It's an awesome album. But one of the things I find, I mean, there's many things I find interesting, but on the top of my list is if we spoke a little bit ago, I'd be talking to Frank Iero and The Celebration, or I'd be talking to Frank Iero and The Patients.
Correct.
You changed the name of your group.
Mm-hmm.
Does each title reflect what?
Well, all right, so to I guess delve back, like I'd never set out to be like, oh, I'm gonna have all these bands and then have like a springboard to like a solo career. Like that was never my plan. No, I never wanted any of that, right? So I ended up writing these songs, and people, you know, would ask me what I'd been up to. So I played it for a friend, who then asked if they could play it for another friend. And then before I knew it, I ended up with a record deal, and I was like, oh, like now what? You know what I mean? So I figured, all right, if I'm gonna do this and I need to put a band together, I want to name the band, and I should bring along something that like kind of detracts from how maybe inept I am at being a front man. You know, maybe it, like, you know, you think you're at a party, so like you don't pay attention to the guy that's not good on the mic, and so I named it The Celebration, and I love doing that so much. Like I love that honeymoon period of a band, you know, like starting it and naming it, figuring out who's going to be in it, what it's going to sound like what's the t-shirt design, like what's the aesthetic, like, you know, what story are you telling with the record? Like that is so interesting to me. And, you know, when I'm in a band for a long time, I start to lose interest. Like I want to do another project. So I thought, all right, well, if I enjoy that so much and this is just going to be my thing, like there's no rules. I get to make the rules as I
Do
go
it over
along.
and over again.
So I'm just going to keep doing it. Yeah. And every record, you know, the band changes, the name changes and all that. And I still have interest in it. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's really just for me. It's a selfish thing.
Is that the most exciting part for you, top to bottom, when you're building something, you're
Absolutely.
creating something?
Yes. Yeah. I have to at all times. Like, and I like having multiple outlets for that, because when I hit a roadblock, like a mental block or a writer's block with one, I just jump to the other, and then that kind of opens a door for the other thing.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you always have an avenue for something that pops into your
Something.
brain if you want to get it out there.
Right.
So, Celebration and Patience, could they come back?
I guess so. I mean, I don't know. Probably not though. Like I don't like repeating myself. I feel like I feel like we told the story with that thing. Because like, all right, with The Celebration, I felt like I needed a distraction. I got over that. I felt like after that was done, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm enjoying this. I don't need to be distracted from what I'm doing. I'm doing a pretty good job. I figured I had to be the front man or the leader of a band on my own.
How hard was that?
Very hard. Very hard. I have a huge appreciation and respect now for singers and frontmen of all sorts. The thing about it though was that I got worried that I would have to be this, like, you know, high kicking, like you know what I mean? Like I would never wanted to be like this like
Giant showman.
Like, yeah, I didn't want any of that. And I realized like, oh, okay, I don't have to do that. I can do it on my own. And that's when I started to like feel comfortable in that role, when I figured out I could just be myself in doing this.
That's what makes a great frontman, right?
I think so. I don't know. What the hell do I know? You know what I mean? Like, I've realized that too, is that I have no idea how anyone else does anything. I just know how I do it.
Yeah, but you know how you've been doing it for quite some time.
Yes.
So,
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing for anyone else.
Of course not, because
Right.
essentially you've created your own madness every time. So like, if somebody else was to just randomly step on in there, it's your madness that they're unpacking. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think so. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like your thing. Nobody else could do it your way because it's your way.
Exactly. That's like, all right. So Tucker, right? Tucker Rule, he plays drums in the Future Violence, and we've been friends for a really long time. And we talked about like how like stage fright and stuff like that, right? Like I still get stage fright. I still get super nervous every time we play a show because you've never played that show before. Like the Futurism, it's always new. And someone had said to him like, "Why are you nervous? Like this is the only thing you're good at." And I was like, "Oh wow, if you think about it that way, that's kind of crazy." But also, like, what if you're not good at it? Like, then you have nothing else.
Yeah.
But are you at this weird phase in your life where you have to look at success differently?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
How do you measure it?
If I feel content, if my soul feels good, if I'm a good dad and a good husband and a good person, then that means like creatively I'm fulfilled.
Do they fuel your creativity, and does it change the way you create having kids?
It definitely does, because it changes the person that you are. You know, here's the thing: like everything that you go through, whether it be like meeting somebody on the street someday, or getting into a car accident, or writing a great song, like it changes the person that you are, and it affects the person you become. So I'm around these amazing human beings all the time, and it really does ground me. And like there's no way I can feel like, oh, look at me, I'm a rock star, when I'm picking up somebody's dirty underwear. Like cleaning peanut butter off the fucking refrigerator. So like but they're the best thing that's ever happened to me, and but I know that I can't be the dad I want to be if I'm not satiated creatively. Like that really ruins me.
Is that why you keep doing it?
I think so. Yeah, because they know too. Like when a song's not working out, or if I don't feel like it's crazy, man. Like being an artist is a really rough thing, because one, you have to have a very thin skin in that you let the world in, so that like it then it comes in and like kind of like boils inside you and formulates into something else, and then you can express yourself through it. But then when you release what you have that you've made, you have to have a thick skin, because people are really mean about it.
It's vicious.
Yeah, and you only listen to the bad stuff that people say. No matter like 1,000 people could tell you did a great job, but one person would be like, kind of sounds like shit to me, and you're like, it sounds like
Like, you still let that get to you though?
Oh, you have to. Yeah, I mean, you can't turn it off. Like you either are this antenna for all emotion and everything around you. You're a conduit for like the universe, or you're not. You can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna let things in now, but like later I'm not gonna accept any of this.
Your vulnerability needs to stay the same.
It's always there. Yeah.
Do you feel like you've gotten more vulnerable, and that like thin skin is even a little bit thinner now that all of the creative stuff is on your shoulders?
Possibly. But also too, I think like the older you get, you start to realize how to navigate a little bit better. But you're always going to be crazy. You know what I mean? And that's your biggest fear, is to find out like at the end of it, like someone to say like, you've worked all this time and you put all your energy into this thing that you've created, and you finally think like, you know what, it's good enough to show someone, and then to find out you're crazy. That's the biggest fear, I think, of any artist out there.
And you still face that.
Oh yeah, you have to.
Is there a record off of Barriers that you thought this could be the one where everybody thinks I'm f***ing crazy?
Oh yeah, every
Every
definitely.
record? Is there one in particular?
I think it's song by song. There's definitely moments where you're in the studio, you have this idea, and you're like, this could be the greatest thing I've ever done, or this could be like where everyone is like, oh, that's right. He's like, he's out of his mind, and they leave and never come back. You know what I mean? Like there's always that.
A New Day. Did that actually start as a lullaby?
It did. Yeah.
And you just sat on the lullaby for a while?
Well, it was one of these things where, all right, so I wrote a song with my daughters called Best Friends Forever. And that was their they started that. They would sing it like really loud at each other. This best friends forever, but not now kind of thing, to taunt each other when they were like kind of having a fight. And so I thought, all right, well, a great way to like kind of bring this all together and make it a positive is to sit down with the guitar. We'll figure out a melody and we'll actually write a song. So we ended up writing this song, did a video for it and recorded and all that stuff, and it was amazing. And so at night we'll have this thing where I say like, all right, you want to hear a story or you want to sing a song? What do you guys want to do? And if they pick a song, we usually will sing Best Friends because they know the words and they're a fan of it because they wrote it, right? And then so if you do a song, you're gonna have to do 2 songs. And I was like, I don't have any other songs. So I wanted to write a song that I felt comfortable singing to them at night, like a sentiment that they could go to bed with and wake up with a fresh sense of the world is kind of like my oyster kind of thing. And so I started to come up with this idea of a new day's coming. We're gonna wipe the slate clean, and no matter what happened today, whether it was good or bad, like that doesn't matter. Like tomorrow's a new day, and it's the first day of the rest of your life kind of thing. And I wanted to give them that, So I had the chorus and I had a couple of ideas of how I wanted it to go, but I feel like songs are a lot like relationships. Sometimes you meet somebody in your life and you're like, yo, you're something really special and I'm something really special, and together we could be like really amazing, but this is not the right time for us, And so you you let them go, and then hopefully down the line you meet again. But songs are a lot like that too. Like, I had this idea, but I wasn't ready to commit.
How'd you know you were ready?
It just happened. Just happened. I tried on the last record. I tried to force it and it didn't work. And I knew, all right, maybe this isn't the right time. But this record, after everything that happened between the last record and this record in my life, it just felt right. Like this was the time to do it, and it needed to be the first song that you heard when you put the record on.
Would you have ever thought years ago that you would have been making a song like A New Day for your daughters, but also one that has a message that is so beautiful and pure and needed? Not saying the other songs didn't have a message like that, but it's totally different. We're talking about light to darkness, like as basic as like colors.
It's funny to me though, because I've always felt like I wrote really positive songs, and then everybody's like, "Oh man, your songs are so depressing." It's like, really? This is the first record though that I've written that people are like, "Oh, it's a really uplifting, like positive record." I'm like, "Oh, finally, I did it." I've been trying for a really hard time, long time, yeah.
Hello, beautiful human. I'm not a vitamin guy, but Care of makes it so easy. It's a personalized subscription service. Give yourself the support you need this season with a boost. Whether you're looking for energy, better sleep to maintain stress, or something else to help you feel your healthiest, Care of's online quiz will let you know exactly what you need. You answer easy questions like how much you're currently sleeping. Are you looking for more energy? Do you need something to help support weight management? Or are you looking to like grow out your hair or have healthier skin or nails? It gets really personalized. They'll get to know you, and they'll give you exactly what you need and exactly what you're looking for. Depending on your personalized Care of plan, you're going to get daily vitamin packs and or protein powder sent right to your door. It is so freaking cute. It's customized. Your name's on the pack. You're going to love it. I promise. Plus, you can modify your subscription at any time. So as your needs and your preferences change, so can your subscription. You're never really locked in. Also, Care of is making sure that you know exactly what you're putting into your body. And they want to make sure that everything that you put into your body is coming from the best source. Transparency is one of their goals. All of the information on everything they sell is always available on their website. And if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, they got supplements for you too that will really help kind of boost that diet and support that diet. So as you have specific diet needs, Care of is totally around to help you out. If you're actually interested in vitamins and if you want 25% off your first Care of order, I'll totally hook you up. TakeCareOf.com. Go there and enter the code ZachSang. That is TakeCareOf.com. Just enter the code ZachSang if you want 25% off.
Why do you feel like you write depressing songs usually?
I don't think I do.
Oh no. Why do you think that why do you think other people see them as depressing and you don't?
I don't know. It's a lot like we're from Jersey, right? Like you tell someone to go themselves, like it's not like it depends on how you say it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not always a bad thing.
Not at all. I tell somebody to themselves once a day and I mean it with love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's just the way I am. I think like growing up on the East Coast, like you have this there's this weird mentality where you can never think that you're good at something, because if you do, you're a jerk off. You know, and you can't ever, like, you know, I don't know, like, you can't ever not have that rough edge about you. You know what I mean? Like, you can't let your guard down too much.
I totally.
Yeah.
What you're
It's
saying.
weird.
Yeah, you're never soft. Like,
No, yeah, because like you always think somebody's out to get you at
Yes.
some point on something.
even in your softest moments, there's an edge there.
Yeah.
And as you say this, I think of about 1,000 moments in my life where that is so obvious.
Yeah.
It's not until like you look back at it that you realize. I mean,
Like, even when my kids give me a hug, I'm like, are they trying to steal my wallet?
yeah. You question almost everything a little
Everything.
bit. But even when you really mean it with love, the average person will take it with like, ooh.
Yeah.
Did he really mean that?
I know. Yeah. It's you know, I think it's sometimes it's inflection, sometimes it's what I think is. See, here's the thing. I personally, I love when things are beautifully broken, right? I think people aren't perfect. We're not supposed to be perfect. No one's fucking perfect, right? So this idea that we have to strive to be this image that we see on the internet or something like that, like, you're like, no, like, even if there were people out there that were perfect, why would you want to be that person? Like, the only thing the world doesn't have is you. Like, we have everyone else. So the only thing that we need is you, and you're the only one that can give it to us. So celebrate that's wrong with you, because that's what makes you unique. You know, like, those flaws, the things that people tell you are flaws, like, no, that's the stuff that you should nurture and build from. Like, that's what's unique to you. You're like, no one is fucked up the way that you're fucked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I try to celebrate, I think, in songs. And people are like, oh man, that's so depressing. It's like, no, like, that's be courageous in showing what maybe isn't necessarily, like, you know, like the feature that you would want to put forward. Like, celebrate the stuff that scares the hell out of you, the stuff that you feel uncomfortable about, you know, the things that are uniquely you.
Is that a lesson that you've had to learn over time, or is that something you've always kind of known?
No, I think over time. I think, you know, it takes a while to gain that knowledge, because, like, just like everybody else, like, I was young, like, I'm insecure, you know, like, I've always been that way, you know. I was a fat kid growing up that didn't really feel like they belonged anywhere. You know, like, I found punk rock, and I realized, like, oh, I can do this stuff on my own, you know, for me and my friends, and it took me a while to realize that I don't need anyone's permission. I don't need to prove myself to anyone but myself, you know, and no one can tell me how to be me.
Mm-hmm.
Does that happen while you're releasing music, or does it happen before? Because I'm thinking, like, everything you just said, I feel like is missing in music today.
Right. Yeah.
But what you said was representative of what pop punk used to be.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's true.
Even when I was in middle school or my first early years of high school, like, it was My Chemical Romance, it was Green Day, it was Fall Out Boy, it was Panic. It was like, you represented those with flaws, and you gave everybody that hope. Like, just because you were different or not like everybody else, seize that moment, seize those things, and milk it. And
well, I think that you have to. I mean, like, it doesn't make sense to want to be something that you're not. You know, I think that even if you see an immediate happiness in not being, you know, kind of pointed at and being, you know, thought of as different, like, that's not a happiness that sticks with you, you know, because it's not you, and you're going to feel uncomfortable and unhappy in that skin because it's not yours, you know?
totally.
I think with that movement that you're talking about, I think what got weird and crazy and misconstrued was the people started to then gravitate towards a certain thing, and it became almost a caricature of those sentiments. And then from there, you know, either people gravitated towards this caricature that they saw and thought, oh, well, I don't fit anywhere else, I should fit in here, so I'm going to be that. And that's not great, because it kind of goes against what you started it from. And then also, too, I think we lost the ability to differentiate between good and bad attention. We just realized that we're getting attention, and that must be what I need. And I think that that's a big problem that's happening in young people right now, where they're looking for someone to notice them, and they don't get that negative attention or positive attention, difference. They just know that people are paying attention to them. They get likes or they get followers or something like that, and it's kind of crazy.
Kids today are 3 times more likely to want to be a YouTube star when they grow up than an astronaut. But like growing up, when I was growing up, if a kid had a love for space or he was a math nerd or whatever, like those are things that they seize. Do you get what I'm saying?
Right, yeah.
Like even though there was always that asshole in class that made fun of you, you always saw that and you wanted to kind of like explore it and expand upon it.
Yeah.
But now it's all
I think that
it's attention.
It's attention, and I think it's also like like when you hear people say like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up, or like what do you want to do with your life? Like what do you want to do? And they say I want to be famous. Like, well, famous for what? I don't know. I just want to be famous. Like, oh man, that sucks.
Freaky. And as a dad, are you scared a little bit?
Very, very. So I think instilling that though, like you're getting attention right now, or I'm praising you for something that you accomplished, or for failing, if for trying something and failing and getting it back up and doing it again, like that. Those are accomplishments. Those accomplishments garner attention. Like that. That's a good thing, as opposed to just like, oh, here's a participation trophy, or like like here's a I don't know, some sort of celebration for nothing. Like,
are we against participation trophies?
I think
A for effort.
I think that it's hard, right? Like, because you have kids, you don't want to see them sad. You want to see them like be happy all the time, but that's not life. Yeah. You can't have the sweet without the sour. You can't you can't win all the time. I'm not preparing you for what the real world is like if I give you. If I rig the game every time.
You're doing a disservice to your kid.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
It's terrible.
They're going to be set up wrong. They're going to think that everything deserves to be handed to them.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be like Lori Loughlin paying $500,000 to get your kid into college.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
No comment.
I don't know if they'll cost you that much to get him into Rutgers. But also you might get him in there.
I don't know. Well, I went to Rutgers and I dropped out.
I was just going to say, right?
I know I shouldn't have done that. Well, that's my thing about. I want my kids to go to college, but I know what it's like. Like, because I went and I heard opportunity knocking, and I was like, this is my one chance in a lifetime to do the thing that I want to do, like that I love more than anything. And so I got to say goodbye to like the backup plan. And my dad and my grandfather, like who I love and looked up to more than anyone in this world, were like severely disappointed in me. And that was a hard one, but you gotta, sometimes you gotta make your own way, and you gotta like, they can tell you so many stories about how like this is like the pitfalls of this and that, but you gotta get your own scars. I get it. I can't fall off my bike for my kids. Like, like they have to fall off their own bikes.
How long did it take for your dad and your grandfather to come around?
Years. I think, I had done a lot of things, accomplishments, and sold a lot of records and had plaques and all this stuff. And then one day, my grandfather gave me a call, and he said that my birthday was in the Trentonian, which is the local Trenton newspaper.
Yeah. He's like, oh, he made it.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, you did it. Yeah, like that was the moment where he was like, okay, it's all right that you dropped out of college. Yeah.
But that must have felt amazing.
It was, yeah. I was like, but I mean, like, I did all this stuff, like I could have like fell down a well. It's the same shit, you know what I mean? Like you still would have been in the paper.
Local New Jersey man falls down a well.
Yeah, also on his birthday. Yeah.
Wow. I want to go back really quick to pop punk and it becoming a caricature of itself.
Okay.
Is that genre dead?
Oh man. Sorry, I didn't mean to blow into your mic.
No, anytime.
I don't know. I think it's hard to say because like these are like subgenres of subgenres of subgenres. Like it's really is just all rock and roll, right? I think the issue that you really have is when people set out to make something for a reason other than just creating. they're say like, oh, I want to set out to make this band that sounds like this because this is what's popular and this plays to like this demographic. Like once you've said those words,
Poor motive.
you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a big issue. You know what I mean? And then also too, like, you know, I'm trying to how do I say this in the right way? It's weird to me. Like there's classic bands. There's bands that have done this for years and years and years, and they do it well, and those songs will live on, and I love those songs, and I know a lot of people do love those songs. But there's something weird about seeing people that are 40 plus sing about weird high school fucking fart joke stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's a weirdness. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just for me. You know what I mean? Like
the timeless of the records. There's a certain point where you got to graduate from that.
I think so. I don't know. I mean,
get what you're saying.
Yeah. There's certain things about my personality and things that I will always find funny, I'm sure. But like, I'm not the same person I was when I was 15. And I don't write the same songs that I did when I was 15. But I mean, some of those emotions are the same. I understand that. But I don't know. I think it's a fine line, you know? I think your emotions have to evolve, and I think your songwriting has to evolve.
So you're saying you're never going to perform any Pensy Prep songs ever again?
Never.
Never?
No, I don't, man. That's funny.
That was your first band ever.
Well, it wasn't my first band ever. It was the first record that came out and like was signed to a label.
So
yeah, first band ever. You want to know what my first band ever was?
what was it called?
It was called Fountainhead.
Yeah.
Nice.
There was something
Thank you.
prolific about that, I feel.
Yeah. We had one song. I played drums in it.
Cool.
Because I wanted to play guitar, but he was like, "No, I play guitar." And so, that was the first band. And then shortly after that, I played my first show with a band called Steve Weil and the Disco Kings.
Whoa.
No one was named Steve Weil.
I was going to say,
No one played disco.
Where'd the name come from?
I think it was like a friend of somebody, and like we it was weird. Like I was a freshman in high school. My friend Hambone was a senior. He played guitar and found out that I played guitar. So he came over one day and he was like, "All right, show me, like what you can do." And I played like probably like a Nirvana song or something. He was like, "Oh, you can actually play. All right, we're starting a band. We have a gig in a month." I was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Oh, by the way, our name is Steve Weil and Disco Kings." I was like, "What? The hell is happening?" So we played maybe like 3 shows or something. But that was a big deal. And what's funny about that band is that there's many things funny about that band. One of the funny things about that band is that we in those months where we had a few shows or whatever, we wrote like 25 songs.
Whoa.
And every show we thought we had to play every song that we wrote.
Oh my
So
God.
like the last show was at like a friend of a friend's birthday party,
that's painful.
and we brutalized this party
2.5
for like
hours
an
later.
hour and a half.
Everyone's like, get these guys off stage.
I seriously, yeah. Like we just want to listen to the Chicken Dance or something. Like please,
Where's
it was
Steve?
horrible. Yeah. It was terrible.
How many bands have you been in over the years?
Oh my God. Oh man. There's no way. I have no idea. So many bands. But Jersey's like that. Jersey's like a very like incestuous pit of musicians. Like just everyone's playing in everyone's band, and everybody like if you're a drummer, you're in 6 bands. Hands down. If you have a PA system, you're in everyone's band. Like, if your brother put on shows, you're in 3 bands. Like it's just like if you have a job at Staples, which I did, you're in 12 bands because you
Promo
can get,
cards.
Yeah,
Come
dude, you
on.
get stickers for free. You get flyers for free.
Did you ever play the Marlboro Rec Center?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've been to a few shows there.
Yeah.
Some good times.
Starland, Boundbrook. I used to play at the New Palace all the time. Lyndhurst American Legion Hall. I played outside of a hot dog stand in Rutherford.
Oh wow!
I've played. You name it. I played on the back of a flatbread. Flatbread.
Flatbread.
Yeah, a flatbread bread truck. Flatbread bread truck.
I want to see that.
In Nutley, and at that, I'll remember this too because like the band was called Hybrid, and they listed us as Hybrid, and we were so mad, and our singer was like, "I'm not playing. I'm not gonna play unless they change the flyer." I was like, "No one cares. No one's here to see us. Like, who the hell you think you are? It's a fair. Like no one's here."
Isn't it crazy to think though you've played at fairs and then you've played in front of like 100,000 people?
Yeah. Well, I mean that's there's no how do you get to 100,000 people unless you play the fair? You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
You
Right?
can't get there. I mean, there's people who do skip over.
I don't know, Lil Nas X, I don't think he ever played at a fair.
Who?
Lil Nas X, Old Town Road. He went straight
Oh,
to the
I'm
top.
sure he's playing a fair right now. I'm sure there's a fair, right?
Probably
I
a
saw-
big fair.
Yeah, oh yeah, but still a fair.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't care how big that fair is. It's still there's somebody's winning fish by throwing a ping pong ball at a thing. I don't care.
That's such a New Jersey
Dude,
thing.
Yeah.
Dude, I had so many goldfish that
Yeah.
died
Oh,
within a day.
They're disposable animals.
I felt
It's a
so
shame.
bad because
It's a shame.
you were really winning the worst goldfish out of the bunch, you know?
Yeah, well, think about this, right? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna get like letters if I go into this any further. But I mean, it's almost like like you're the Kevorkian of goldfish at that point because like
You're
like they're
choosing.
just like packed in this fucking tank. They get put in a bag. Like just that fish is just like kill me, just kill me.
That's why,
Please,
that's why he dies in a
Someone
day.
kill me. Yeah,
He wants to go.
yeah. I mean, I think you're doing it a favor.
But by the way, it is pretty wild to take just a listen back to all the different groups you've been in, and really, you performed in front of 100,000 people. But you can't have one without the other.
No, yeah.
And do you think there is longevity for artists who skip over those coveted hot dog stand moments, or those coveted being somebody throwing a beer at you
Coveted. I
type
don't think
situation?
it's coveted.
Yeah, but you learn something, don't you?
I definitely learned a lot. I learned a lot from every experience, good and bad. But I don't know. I mean, who says? I think if the art is valid, and whether it gets recognized immediately or after you're dead, like who cares? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's unfortunate, that like there's artists out there that suffer their entire life playing to no one, die in squalor, and then eventually somebody finds a tape somewhere and it's like, oh my god, like this is amazing, like that sucks, but it
happens.
that's what happens, and then there's people that write one song and go immediately to the top and everybody gets to enjoy it, and that's a great thing, it's who knows, and I don't know.
Why do you make music still today? What is it that motivates it?
I have to. It's like breathing. I can't not like have a song pop in my head and then immediately like just pick up a recorder and start recording it. Like I have literally thousands of voice memos on my phone, some of which will turn into songs, some of which I just needed to get down at the moment.
How often are you doing that?
I just did it today at K-Rock. Oh, we were just there. Yeah.
So what happens?
I don't know. It's a couple of chords.
But you
I
have
don't know what it will turn into. I don't
You
know.
have synesthesia, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So do you see colors? Do you see objects? What do you see?
I see colors. Yeah. Like, but for me, it's like in record form, like the first record to me is Pink, and the first record that we did together, right? It's the Celebration record. So Stomach Aches is a Pink record. Parachutes has always been a blue record, and from the moment we started writing Barriers, it was a yellow.
And that's actually that comes through in the album artwork.
Yeah, and that's why I think that I enjoy doing that so much, is because I know what it needs to be to, you know what I mean? So I like it being so hands-on with that because I could see it already.
But at what point in the creation process do you see a color? How many songs in do you see it from the get-go, or?
It depends. This was pretty early on. Yeah, this was always yellow to me. I don't know. I wonder though too if it's like the emotion that I go into the writing process with. I don't
So
know.
yellow means you're happy going into this one, right?
What song started it?
The song that started this process, good question. I think the first full song that we did as a band was Young and Doomed. The first song that I wrote though for this record, if I were to like go all the way back, was either the beginnings of New Day or The Unfortunate. There was also the beginnings of 6 Feet Down Under was early on.
A New Day makes sense for yellow, but yellow could have its own meaning because
I think it's
what is 6 Feet Under to you? Is
6 Feet Down Under was me trying to make sense of the accident that happened like almost 3 years ago
in Sydney? But
Yeah.
do you see that as a positive thing that you use to heal, or?
I think I mean if I were to try to put it into some sort of like plant. Maybe it's like it's a fall color, right? It's like that. Maybe it's the seeing that that situation kind of come to an end and die off. You know what I mean? Like this thing that was so huge and such a monumental, debilitating event in my life. Like it had such power over me. Like seeing that kind of wither away was huge.
Like it's hold on you.
Yeah, like because once I'm able to write a song about something, and once I'm able to verbalize and put a melody and words behind what I'm feeling, I am able to define that situation, and then it becomes real, but I also have control over it.
I get it.
You know what I mean? As opposed to it just being there and controlling me.
Yeah, it's yours.
Once you name something, like it's like
it belongs
I got
to you.
Yeah.
Is it hard to perform that song live?
We haven't.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Why is
weird
that?
too. Well, I think that with songs, right? Like, all songs need to be written, but do they need to be played over and over and over again? I don't know. I remember hearing in an interview once that our friends, the Get Up Kids, they had performed a song called I think it was Newfound Interest in Massachusetts, and someone had asked like, how come you never played that song live? And they said, we got it right the first time. Why should we do it again? And I was like, oh wow, that's so interesting. I never thought of it that way. Like, if you nailed something, would you do it again?
No.
And get it wrong? You know what I mean? So I think since they've actually played that song because people just want to hear it so bad. But that's an interesting way to think about things. I also think about there's songs like a song that I wrote for my grandfather, like when he passed away. It's a song off of Parachutes. I never need to go through that emotion again. I needed to get it out because I needed to expel that. But for my soul, like I don't need to do that song again. Yeah.
Young and Doomed. What event is that you need to get out there and have in your control?
Right. Well, that song I think is about a lot about predetermination, and how we can want the best for our offspring, right? Like we can get them the best doctors, the best school systems. We can give them everything they possibly ever want. But there's certain things that are innate and things that are handed down through the blood that runs through our veins. Things like depression and addiction and all these things. Like they rear their heads whether we have done everything we possibly can or not. And that song's a lot about that kind of stuff, about being your own worst enemy and knowing that there's this predetermined path for feeling a certain way.
So why'd you want to include the "I'm Not Okay" lyric?
It fits so well. I think also too, like, it was one of those things where I was writing the lyrics for that song, and I knew the song was important, and I wanted to get it correct, and it just came out as I was writing in my basement. I was like, oh my God, that's so good. And I was like, and at the same time, I was like, it's going to get a lot of attention. Do I want that attention? Is that negative attention? Is that positive attention? Are people going to miss what's being said in the song just looking for this line? And I started to think about that a lot. And I thought, well, maybe people will get where I'm trying to reference in here and not really, try to, I don't know, be like, oh, is it because he his best friend? You know what I mean? Like I want people to realize that there's these universes. You know what I mean? It's not just about some fucking weird meme that people make about the members. Like it's like, listen to the songs that we were writing and what was being said in there. And I like that, like in a comic book, when you find out like one superhero is in the same universe as another, like it references another body of work, and I think that's kind of fucking awesome. It breaks down that fourth wall.
But I'm here for it all day.
Okay.
Because it is how you build an actual universe.
Yes, exactly.
It's something that's bigger than just that one, and it gives any fan who truly cares and invests the opportunity to connect all the dots and really be invested in all of it as opposed to just one. What is the connection between that line and the message of the overall song?
So, well, I think it's gaining the power of that not being okay. Like that's a huge thing realization to come to, and it's okay to not be okay. Like we get so concerned about wanting people to to perceive us as being, oh no, I'm good, don't worry about it. Like, like there's no problems here. Like everybody's got problems. Like we're full of issues.
We just don't want to
say it. Yeah. Like that idea that we can't break that porcelain. We have to keep this facade up, like that we got it all figured out. No one has it figured out. Like, and we're old enough now, right? How old are you guys?
28.
28. 26.
All right. So well, I'm a little bit older, right? Like I'm gonna be 38. I have kids now. Like I'm my parents when I was a kid, and I was like, oh my God, my parents have it figured out. No, they don't. Like your parents don't have it figured out. No one has it figured out, man. We just do what we think is right, and we do our best. But we all have problems. Like real life is crazy.
But why isn't music showcasing that in a way that is mainstream anymore? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right. Well, I think some of it is, but some of it too is I think people don't want to have to deal with that. I think that's what it is too. The escape is, they just want something like
we
to
always
put on
escape
and not think about it.
But what was your music before, and the music that we're listening to today?
Mm-hmm.
Was it an escape? Was it reality? Was it a combination of both?
See, I liked when people told me stories that were based in reality. That was the stuff that I really got into. Like I remember, like all right, so like one of my favorite punk bands of all time, Bouncing Souls. I remember them writing songs about like walking through the city and their friends and like hanging out at like the cocktail lounge, the holiday cocktail lounge, and like thinking about this universe. Like, what is their life like? It's a long walk through the city in the rain. And it's a long walk from train to train. Like thinking about like, oh my God, like they're, like what is this like? Like living in the city, like being in this band, like touring the country, and like talking about like writing songs about shows, and like that was huge for me. That was like it was like folk punk rock. Like I was learning about this world that I wanted so badly to be a part of.
So do you write about escapes? Do you write for reality? Do you get what I'm saying?
Right. I write from personal experience. I find it very difficult for me to invent a world and just write like fictional things. Like the things that I write about are the things that I've experienced in my own life, or I've witnessed people go through them firsthand. I draw inspiration from living.
Has it always been like that?
Always. Yeah. I find it. I wonder what it's like to be able to just like
fabricate a story.
Yeah, fabricate a story. Like that's got to be so, like, because I think about how draining it is to think and overthink and to live these songs. Like, as much as I love making records, it takes everything out of me. So I wonder, like, wow, if I just like talked about some fake bull, like, would that I'd be happy, right? Like, I wouldn't have to.
I don't think you'd be fulfilled.
I don't think so either. But
and I think the people who do it the right way they're drained in their own way because it's through empathy and they hear a story a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hella blessed. I get to talk to a lot of incredible musicians, and I've heard stories of all different types of how people do it, and Sam Smith can hear a friend's story over and over again and then craft this beautiful hit record after it. Or like Alec Benjamin, for instance, if you haven't checked him out, I would so recommend it.
Okay.
He like does retellings of Aesop's fables.
Oh, wow.
But you won't know until you dig down into the lyrics.
That's
like,
crazy.
It's Alec Benjamin.
Okay.
Worth your time.
All right. I'll check it out.
Promise you that.
Right on.
But like, he's not always. Rarely writes about reality. It's wild. Wow. It's
that's like like fantasy metal. Like that's gotta be crazy, man. Like writing about orcs. Like it's gonna be so nuts. Think about that.
How do you even get there?
How do you get there? I have no idea. How do you do that? Crazy.
What mental state do you
think about
enter?
this. Like, have you ever heard that band Dust?
No.
It's Marky Ramone's like first band. It's like a fantasy metal band. It's dope as shit. It's so good.
And the orcs?
Yeah.
Trolls?
Dude, yeah. Like on the cover of the record, there's like a troll holding like a sledgehammer. It's crazy.
That's pretty
the
cool.
The best.
What do you think?
What I was thinking it's interesting about you? You could like be in a band now. You're like, you open for Taking Back Sunday, right?
Yeah.
But then like at the same time, you could go and be like the headliner. Is that weird? Like going, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like you guys went from being a headliner, now you're in a new band, you're opening for Taking Back Sunday.
Right.
Is it kind of weird to think about it like that?
Well, I think that, you're talking project to project, like My Chem to this, or like any other band.
Yeah.
I feel like one doesn't dictate the other. You know what I mean? Like just because I did this, and this with one band doesn't mean that when I get into like, say, like if I tour with like Leathermouth or like Death Spells or my own project, like that doesn't have any bearing on this. You know what I mean? Like you still got to start from scratch and start from square one.
Is that important for you?
I think so. I mean, yeah, like
Because real talk, any agent would make sure that wouldn't have to happen. But I feel like that kind of like motivates you.
I think you have to earn it. Like every project has yeah. One doesn't like piggyback off the other. It doesn't work that way. At least in my head, I don't think so.
Because
Yeah.
I respect that because I think there's a lot of people who wouldn't do that. Honestly,
I don't know. I only know one way to do it.
but it's cool.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Here's the thing too: is like people ask like, oh, what's more fun, like playing this type of venue or this type of show, or it's all fun, man. It's all different. I don't feel more at home in a basement or in an arena. Like I love playing music, and
As
you
long
have
as
to
you're
think
doing
about it in a different way. Like your approach is definitely different, but I enjoy both. Yeah.
Yeah, because you fulfill no matter what. It's not
Yeah.
about the size of the venue. It's the fact that you're doing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's how you know.
That's how you know. That's how they get you.
Boom.
Are you trying to separate your lives? Like you're in the My Chem life, obviously everyone knows about that. And then you have like what you're doing today. Is it important that you separate the two? Because I'm sure a lot of people just
Right.
want to know like what went on, how was it, what was it like being in the band. But then you're like, okay, well I'm this age, I'm doing this now. Let's focus on this.
You mean like in like press and like interviews?
Yeah,
and stuff?
press, interviews, just fans.
Well, here's what I don't like. I don't mind talking about anything that I've done because I'm proud of everything I've
Yeah.
done. What I don't like is when someone will sit down with me and talk about, say, like this project for an hour, and then at the end of it be like, oh, by the way, ask like one question about MyChem, and then throw that at the title of it so that someone clicks a link on it. And it's like that. First off, you and I are both too smart for this
Yeah.
dumb shit that you're doing. Two, no one is going to be excited when they click that link because you don't have any information. You know what I mean? Like if I had something to say about that, like that's what this interview would be about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that whole like grabbing clicks is just, it makes you look like a dick and pisses everybody off. Like it does nothing to me. I don't care. You know what I mean? Like,
This is how I want to start the whole conversation. I want to put this right at the top.
right? I mean,
No, because it's 100% true.
Yeah.
It is what people do because they're looking. It's
it's all about
clickbait.
like, yeah, it's clickbait for advertisers that, whatever. I get it, but don't do that. Like then people aren't going to go to your site anymore because they don't, like, you don't have any information.
No, because there's no
Yeah.
integrity. If integrity doesn't matter, then what is there to gravitate towards?
Do you think though, because everything's so fleeting anyway, no one really cares.
I
It's
mean,
just a grab.
it's really sad that we do deal with an audience or a public that has a very short attention span. But the one thing I have noticed is that people choose to remember when they choose to remember. They store things away, but I think it depends on how intense our wrongdoing is. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like if people are just looking for information, you might have to you might face a few crappy comments, but ultimately what that comes down to is who you choose to talk to. Because I think
Right.
different people choose to play different games. And we play a long-term game. I hope to have you on our show for as long as I choose to do radio, which
I'm moving in. I'm just going to stay here. with the cap
dude,
on.
I got
Yeah.
candles for days. But like I'm 26, I got 30 years left.
Right.
A lot of people that you're talking to are playing this short gotcha game and like maybe they're trying to like make a name for themselves in the middle of the country or whatever. It's like everybody has their own motives.
Yeah.
My
that's true.
motives are talking about music that matters and building quality relationships that last forever.
I like that motive.
Dude.
That's a good one.
But if somebody puts that in a headline, I'm just looking at
Right,
the other
right,
way. If
right.
somebody puts it in the headline, they could learn more about you that they didn't know before. Like if somebody
Somebody that's clicking just for that isn't looking to
They're gonna
scan
scrub
a
ahead.
whole
Just
gonna
article,
skip
yeah.
until they hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
Boom.
And- yeah.
Good point.
I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, if,
I understand what you're saying. Like, yeah, but yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
I'm trying to be
You know,
positive.
no,
here.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
But here's the thing: like, it'd be different if it wasn't like when you put something in like in a headline or something like that, you're promising to tell that story, right? If you're doing it just to like, I don't know, just to like grab you in, and then now it's like, gotcha, here's shit. Like, you're not gonna have someone really stick around. I don't know.
They're not clicks
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not. You're not grabbing attention for the right purpose.
Right.
So the retention on that is going to be poor. Do you get what I'm saying?
I do.
Like, you're not going to turn those clicks into fans. They're not going to be there and like what they hear. It's a mess. I get what you're saying. That's internet culture, sadly. Which, by the way, it's all attached to everybody showing the world exactly what they want the world to see and living everything through a filter and doing whatever it takes to just grab that like or grab that initial view. You know?
I agree. I totally agree.
It's a world we live in.
It's fantasy metal. It's a world of fantasy metal.
What do you think of the term or phrase emo?
Well, I think it's been so like bastardized and diluted that I don't even know what it means anymore. You know?
Yeah.
I think that it started out as short for emotional, right? And so, like, all right, I think like when you hear about like there's emo night, it's like, oh, okay, do you go there and you like listen to The Cure? You're like, no. All right, well, is it like weird like early J Tree stuff? Like, no, this isn't it. It's like pop bands disguised as real bands. All right, that's weird to me. You know, like when you use it now to just describe like a shitty haircut, like that sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of bullshit got lumped into it, like into this term, and that's why I think people like really rebelled against it.
So when I think of like emo bands, it's like All Time Low. I guess Panic, but not anymore. Kind of like Hawthorne Heights. Would you not consider that in that genre?
I would say that I don't know those bands well enough to know if they're emotional, but when I think of emo, I think of Mineral. I think of, I think of Knapsack. I think of The Cure. I think of Embrace. You know, that's what I think of.
Was this a part of the whole characterization or like the caricature of pop punk music? Was the emo haircut and the emo kid all a part of that?
You mean like later on?
Yeah, because
I think so. I think that's where it went to was like, people that are sad and like have like weird makeup, like, and then it became this like, like
this
weird cartoon kind of thing.
It kind of bummed me out because I'm a Warped Tour kid. I was raised on Warped Tour and Bamboozle, and kills me every summer that I don't see the Bamboozle Festival take over the freaking parking lot of Giant Stadium.
Right.
Annoyed about it.
You seem annoyed.
I'll get going. But like it was around that time that like I had the haircut that covered one of my eyes.
I had that haircut.
I was wearing the fat bracelets, the Jack Van Dyke bracelets, to write love on her arm. My sister's in the other room. She still rocks it. She still goes to Warped Tour every year. I feel like that whole thing went away and it just destroys me. And like, I think, you made a good point when we were talking about what is pop punk and the caricature and the cartoon it's kind of became.
Right.
It destroys me because it was such a hub
it meant
of
something
safety
to you.
and community for so many.
Right.
And whenever there was those groups that kind of crossed over into that mainstream light, it was like, yes. Just, I don't know. You felt represented.
I agree with that because I remember like, hearing like bands like, at the drive-in and Thursday on the radio and being like, oh my God, like these are kids like me. Like these are real bands. Bands that I saw those bands in VFW halls at the Wayne Firehouse. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Midtown's on the radio. Like, this is crazy. Newfound Glory's on the radio. Like, I know these bands. This is real. And that was confidence that, like, hey, guess what? It's not far away. Like this doesn't feel like Oz anymore. It's not this made up, upper echelon of bands that are making it. It's anyone can do this. Like, I can write a song in my basement and like get on the radio. Like, that's crazy. Like, Thursdays on the fucking radio. That's awesome.
It made it real.
Yeah. And like then all of a sudden the videos start showing up on MTV and it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then major labels started calling the practice studio and it was weird. It was real weird.
Because everybody wanted something like that. Because there was a need for that genre of music a little bit.
I guess so. Yeah. I just know that we wanted so badly to be, heard. We wanted so badly to be out there touring and to have a chance, just have a shot, and you felt like as a young person, like when how do you get your shot? Like how do you get people to listen? Even if they hate it, like I just want people to hear it. And that was that was the early 2000s of like MySpace and stuff like that, and that's how you got heard. And it was insane because people heard it and they were like, I've never heard anything like this. I want to pay attention to what's being said here.
What was it? Why did you know? What was it about wanting to be heard? Did you feel like you had a message that needed to get out there? Did you feel like you were doing something that was unlike anything else?
Well, I definitely think we, like especially that Jersey, Long Island scene was unique.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like everything else that was going on. There were certain offshoots that we had like camaraderie with. Like there was a couple of communities and bands in like say like North Carolina and Florida. Like there was these
But
like
all East Coast.
It was a lot of East Coast, and the majority of the bands were centralized in that Jersey scene. It was, I don't know, man. People always wanted to be like, oh, it's the new Seattle. It's like, well, I don't know about that, but it was just a community of bands that like that. You know what I think it is? There were so many bands that you needed to be good. Like there's only so many. There's a finite amount of shows, right?
Yeah.
And if you're a band in this scene in Jersey, like you got to fight for these spots. Like you had to fight for the people that like your band, and you got to fight for these spots on the show. So like you have to be so good. And you're seeing all these other bands get better and better, and you're like, oh my God, no, I have to get better.
Gotta step up your game.
Yeah.
There's constant awareness of the competition.
And for my chem, when things really got crazy was when Murder by Death, or at that time Little Joe Gould, came to New Jersey because Thursday found them in Indiana when they were on tour. They signed to Eyeball. They came to Jersey. We saw them play and we heard their record and we were like, oh my God, this is way more than anything else anyone else is doing. Like we need to really think outside the box now. And we started to get even more cinematic and start to look to like classical music for inspiration. And that's when things started to branch off and explode.
Wow.
Yeah.
So from challenging yourself, you got to where you're at.
Yeah, I think that every time I've been put in a room or in a band with somebody that I knew or felt was better than me, that inspired me, I got exponentially better. And that was just how much I love like playing with people that are better than me, like the band that I'm in right now. Like, playing with Kaylee and Matt and Tucker and Evan, like they inspire me to like to up my game. And that's huge, man. Like when I got in a band with Ray and Gerard and Mikey, and at that time Otter was in the band, like, I had to get better to join my chem. I just had to get better.
Did you feel at the gate that you weren't good enough to be around them?
Yeah. But you can't let anybody, again, that's the Jersey. You can't let anybody know.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to fake it till you make it, and then you just you grind.
Dude, it's fake it till you make it, and you work your ass off until you get to what you're saying you can do.
Always grind it out, man. grind. People will tell you, like, old school, like, warped heads, right? Well, they'll tell you, man, like, the first time we had, like, a bus, we couldn't just sit on the bus and chill. We had the bus gutted. We did. We had the bus gutted. We put in stations so that we could rehearse and write the next record while on Warped Tour.
Wow.
That's what we
Really?
did. We played maybe, realistically 5 to 4 hours a day in that bus.
And you did a show.
And a show.
So what years was that? Do you remember?
I mean, we wrote songs for, I guess that was 2003, 2004, 2005 maybe. That 3-year period.
At what point did you know that you were good enough to be along these guys?
In my chem?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, right, like, so like the first record was basically written, I had to write on top of that record. So I only wrote like maybe 3 songs with them on that record. The next record, when I started to write, I think for like 3 Cheers and became, I guess, like part of the main melodies, like a lot of those like like melodic guitar parts that are either going against or with vocal is usually what I would bring to the table. And I think I remember recording Helena in LA, and the engineer's name was Mike Plotnikoff, and I played my part for the choruses of Helena, and I remember him like hitting the end when I finished that taking. He was like, "Whew, that's a great chorus," and being like, really? I wrote that. That's awesome. All right, cool.
And then you
Yeah,
knew.
and then you like, yeah, that's when it was like, oh, thank God. All right, you could finally like exhale and be like, all right, no one's gonna throw me out while in my sleep. Like I'm not gonna wake up like all my packed around me.
Which is a post-it note that
Yeah,
says,
yeah.
see you later.
Yeah, it's just a off.
Isn't it crazy that people are still singing that today?
That's amazing. Yeah, it's crazy. What's insane to me is that we'll play shows, and there's young people still coming to our shows, finding out about this band, and then also even younger people like coming to shows like, wearing My Chem merch and just finding out about that band.
Really?
And it's like, wow, how did you find out about this band? And it's like it's being passed along from like older siblings or old friends, and it's how I found out about bands that I loved. Like, I remember coming up and like in high school and being like, I'm never gonna get to see Jawbreaker, but I love Jawbreaker. It happened before me. The Misfits or Gorilla Biscuits and stuff like that. Of course, now like some of those bands are playing again, but like I remember being in high school and being like, all my favorite bands are dead. Like I felt like Marcy going to school. Like it was crazy, But it didn't change the way that I felt about those bands and how they shaped my upbringing and how much I loved them. And to be that band for somebody else, like that's amazing. That's crazy. It still doesn't make much sense. Like I feel like that band's bigger now than it ever was. It's crazy.
It is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Are there records of yours that you're happy knowing will live forever?
All of them. Yeah, absolutely. That's unreal. Like that's like one of those pipe dream things that like I would never say that, by the way. Like, I'd be like, I to say like, oh, I hope this record lives on forever. Like, but that's what you're doing when you make a record. Like that record will be there forever. Will people listen to it? Who knows? But like that's a huge thing. That people will listen to that forever. And like it's strange to me to say like to come out with a new record and then be on the cover of a magazine and then 2 months later be on the cover of the same magazine as like a classic artist. Like that's crazy.
What is that? What does that say to
It says
you?
I'm old.
It is pretty wild.
Yeah.
But it also says something about the validity of all the music you've created. And it does great stories, great music in general, kind of stands the test of time. And beyond that, like, I don't know. I'll keep going back to it. I feel like the stories that you've been telling for many years are stories that aren't really told in music anymore. So people crave it. People want it. Whether it's from you today or from My Chemical Romance.
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. I hope that I'm doing something that people enjoy, but it doesn't affect why I do it or if I'll keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just an added bonus. That's like icing on the cake. Like, when you write a song that you love, that high, you can ride that high for months. You know what I mean? Maybe even a year. But when people sing it back to you at a show, it's like, oh my God, like that's really cool.
Is there any song you used to perform with My Chemical Romance that you actually miss performing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Some of the songs are really fun to play.
Because you talk about just people hitting, like that energy of the crowd just hitting you back with a record.
That never gets old. Like, even if it's a song that you've played a million times, like to play a song and have people just like sing louder than the band is, like that's insane. It's
power.
Great. It really is. And to be able to do that in multiple projects that's crazy. I feel so blessed to be able to do that kind of stuff. It doesn't feel real. It's something, I mean, like all I ever wanted was to be in a band and to write songs that people like would maybe sing along to. Like that's all I ever wanted. That was my dream, and I didn't think I'd ever get it. You know what I mean? Like, but to be here now doing this for like 20 years finally, yeah, it's crazy.
You are making New Jersey proud.
Oh, thank you. And New Jersey's never proud.
Yeah, but let's be honest about it. They really don't give a shit, but I'm just going to tell you that they're happy.
Thank you.
When you're talking about people singing back to you, what do you remember from the Reading Festival in 2011? Because that performance was amazing.
It changed his life.
Oh,
I
were
watched,
you there?
No, I wasn't there, but I watched it on
okay.
YouTube all the time.
Oh, right on. Yeah, that was a dream come true. I remember. It's funny. I remember thinking as I was playing, I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life. And then also thinking like, oh my God, Brian May's coming up soon.
That's right.
And I better nail it.
Yeah.
because I will remember that for the rest of my
Yep.
life. Yeah, that was crazy, man. I still can't believe that feels like a dream, you know. The only reason that I know it's not is because I see footage. I can see footage of it. Yeah.
You can watch with Dan
Yeah.
once a week.
If you want to watch together one day, I'm down. I've seen it probably 20 times.
Oh man, that's awesome.
It was such a good performance.
There's a lot to unpack about that time in the band, right? And the mindset behind it, because we had bad experiences at festivals, at Reading, at Download, and things of that nature. Like there was a very combative feeling, and then also too, if you really know all the ins and outs of the band, like at that point too, like we were pretty sure that the drummer that's on that show, that recording, that was stealing from us and kind of f***ing us over, and that was really crazy. Like there was a real weird thing happening, but we knew that this was an important show. We weren't going to let him take that from us. So there's so much.
Well, do you let
happening.
him know that you know before you go on stage?
No.
You can't.
Well, this is a very weird, touchy conversation to have. That whole thing really broke my fucking heart, because he was a really good friend. I thought he was a really good friend. I had a walk and talk with him like around that time, like, hey, listen, if there's anything going on, you might not be able to tell anybody. You could tell me, like, please, like, feel like you can tell me anything, blah blah blah. And he was like, yeah, no, that's cool, man. And then like 2 weeks later, like, we caught him.
Oh,
And
was he with you guys from the beginning?
No. This was somebody else that came in. But he would. I feel in my heart that he would have been the drummer for my camp. I think all of that, like, that stuff, like, really played a role in, I think, having the band come to a close. But I think everything was for the best.
I can't even imagine the whole situation, because even bringing any new member into any band,
Right.
whether the band's been around for a few weeks or years, that's a hard situation.
Yeah.
I mean, musically it's hard, business it's hard. There's new personalities that now can clash with the group.
Yeah. It's a shame. Like,
It's a lot.
yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a shame, man. It's a shame. It's one of those things that I still can't make sense of in my head all these years later. It really was a real painful one. It was really, really fucked up. Yeah.
I feel your pain.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Like, when you are in a band situation with somebody, you tour with somebody, you live life together. You live in such close quarters. You become really close.
Yeah.
And you think of them as family.
You
And
have to.
You have to, yeah. And then when that doesn't work out, like, I remember, recently I had a relationship with a musician that, like, I was like, oh man, like, like, we're like family, kind of thing. And then found out later on that the friendship didn't really mean much to that person. And that's like, that hurts so bad, but it's life, you know what I mean?
That is life.
Yeah.
But
happens.
it still hurts.
It still hurts, yeah.
I'm like, I understand that situation too well. And it really, no. But you learn from it, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you do. And here's what you learn is to not cut yourself off completely, because you're going to miss out in the grand scheme of things. It's easy to be like, oh, you know what, I'm never going to, like, care for another friend or look out for somebody else, or like consider them family and let anybody else in. Like, I'm going to be a fucking hard-nosed prick the rest of my life. Like, nah, why do that? That you suffer more than anybody else.
But that's not something you learn right away.
No, it's true. Yeah, it's
I'm
true.
sure after that drum fucked you, every wall went up.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
probably went on red alert.
Yeah, well, I think
everybody's integrity.
that was a rough one. I think within that band, like, that really broke us hard, and I think I don't want to say that it was like the final straw, but it was one of the final straws of the band. And just be like, you know what, the curtains are going to close on this.
But because it's hard to move forward with a clear, vulnerable, but also, like, you need to have a mind that trusts those around you, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, again, I think that goes back to, being an artist and having that thin skin, that able to take in and put out all this emotion and really, make sense of the things that you're experiencing around you. That's hard, man. It's difficult to do that. And still be sane at the end of it. You know what I mean? And then have, like, healthy relationships. It's crazy.
As you bring up emotional barriers, I think it's the right time to tell everybody to listen to Barriers.
No, thank
I
you.
have another question or two.
Okay.
Oh, go.
Frank Iero in the Future Violence.
Well, I just see a lot of people online commenting on how young you look
Nah.
and how you haven't aged in years.
I don't know if that's true,
Is
but
it the veganism?
definitely, I don't know.
Is it all the
The
Beyond
stress
patties?
of trying to find vegan food. Actually,
in New Jersey, that's your problem,
In Jersey,
bro.
it's stressful. Here, it's like
It's
we go on
everywhere.
an eating like splurge. We haven't stopped eating.
Do you just go to the one place in Montclair all the time?
Oh man, I like Veggie Heaven. I do. I do. Like Veggie Heaven. It's good. It's harder. I mean, it's harder out there, but out here, that's how you get us. That's how you get us. Like it's like the food is so good, the weather's so good, and we're like, man, maybe we should move to California again. And you get out here and you're miserable. So
You feel the stress of the city, the selfishness that flows through the streets.
it's a lot like Ghostbusters too. Yeah.
Now, my last question, and it's a dickhead end of the interview question. Are
Oh
you,
no, you're gonna try to get a click, aren't you? God damn it!
Are you,
Dad, don't do it! Don't do it!
No, I have to do it.
You don't have to do anything.
You don't have to answer. Are you aware of Joe Jonas's comments?
Come on, man. What do you think? I'm
All right, all right.
stupid.
So, what do you think about Joe Jonas's comments?
I don't understand why you would do an interview about your band and talk about someone else's band. I don't get it.
But I think that just shows even the Jonas Brothers were my
Here's
Chem
what I
fans.
think. Wow, I don't know. Maybe that's true. Maybe I think I don't know. I think they're trying to rebrand their band as like a real rock band, and they're trying to mention as many, rock bands and try to get like synonymous with other things, and people aren't going to forget that you're a Disney band, bro. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen.
Love Bug is going to come again.
I don't know what that is. I'm sorry.
On that note, Frank Iero.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Woo! Barriers is the album. Please, Frank Iero and the Future Violence. Appreciate your time and energy, sir. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
it's my pleasure. Thank you.
You rock. I really hope you enjoyed that conversation. If you did, please subscribe and also check out our podcast. There's a link in the description, and also comment and like and do things. Other interviews are on the screen somewhere, so click them. Thanks for watching.